Thomas Gordon is a guy who developed trainings in conflict resolution, relationship skills, and when he studied the way that people naturally responded to this situation of I'm feeling okay but I know the other person's upset, and that's the one I want to focus on first of all, then he realized that there were 12 risky things that people often did as their first comment. So this is for now we're thinking about the situation where I'm okay but the other person is actually upset. And so to give you a sense of how these are risky things to do as your first comment, I'm going to get you to tell me an imaginary situation where you have a problem. So you're just going to say a sentence, and I need to explain to you I'm not going to help, I'm just joking, I'm just going to demonstrate these 12 risky first comments so you get a sense of what I mean by them. So you could say, for example, your sentence might be something like, my house burned down last night so I've got nowhere to sleep. Or my friends won't talk to me since I started stealing all their money. And so if one of those things is true for you, then tell something else, because I'm only joking and I'm not really going to help you with this problem. So a completely imaginary problem. Got the idea?
I have monkeys jumping through the window and chasing Sunny.
Yep, well, just shut up about it right now, because I'm sure you're upsetting them by concentrating on it all the time, and you really got to, you got to keep focused on what you want, you see, and not what you don't want. So we all know that's the important thing in life. So that's ordering. So I'm just trying to help her, I just thought if I tell her what to do, then we'll get this thing sorted quicker than otherwise.
There's a crocodile in my swimming pool and has eaten 3 of my chickens and it's about to eat the 4th.
Yeah, well, if you don't get your act together and be more assertive, then this is going to happen more and more, I warn you. And like you're going to start, if you're not assertive, you're going to start feeling like we're eavesdropping on you right here. You see how this happens. It gets worse and worse when you don't take action. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I just thought, like a little warning, sometimes people need to know how bad things can get before they
There's a crocodile in my swimming pool and has eaten 3 of my chickens and it's about to eat the 4th.
This is why we have to be more responsible with swimming pools, isn't it? Like I mean, you have got to, if you're going to commit yourself to having a swimming pool, it's like they say about pets. If you've got a pet, then that's a commitment for life. If you've got a swimming pool, that's a commitment as well, you see, and you have to have covers and you have to have all sorts of things. Otherwise you just shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have got yourself into that situation. And this is all what growing up and being a mature individual is about. So this is called moralizing, right? I'm just trying to help. I felt if she knew the sort of correct moral approach.
My grass grows too fast and I have to mow my lawns every few days.
Good on you for noticing. What I recommend is concrete. Like, don't worry about it. Like at first you'll think it doesn't look as good. You can always paint it green. Like I mean, this is the way of the world. Like we can't waste our time with that nonsense grass stuff. So that's advice. I'm just trying to be helpful. I just sort of practical little suggestions. Sometimes what people need is to face up to reality and make a decision.
My 18-year-old picked a fight with me, and they told me that they absolutely hate me and they've walked out and I haven't seen them for months, and it's really distressing.
Yes, I was reading some research about exactly that the other day. The research about late teens and people evading conflict, like just walking out on situations. And I think I'll send you this information by email. I think you'll find it very interesting, the research about this, because what they were saying is there are a lot of things that have happened in the relationship before that determine how that discussion goes. Yeah, so I think you really need to sort of find out more about that, and I'm gonna send it to you by email, as I say, because after all, we don't want that kind of thing interrupting. I mean, that affects a lot of things in your life from the research, and that can have create difficulties down the line, can't it? I mean, you can imagine from the studies how that affects not just your relationship with this teenager, but also your relationship with potential grandchildren and so on. I'll send you the information anyway. I'm sure you'll find that fascinating. Yeah. So I just thought a bit of, teaching, bit of information might help Bonnie with that. It's lecturing.
I fell down the stairs and broke both my legs.
Well, look, there's only you to blame for this, Julia. If you're not going to be careful on the stairs, then of course things like that are going to happen. You just, it's your own fault for not looking where you're going. Anyone can understand that. So I just felt like, people need to take responsibility. So a bit of blaming might.
Got water going through the roof of my house.
There's always one wet person in the, someone who's a little bit complainy about things and can't handle their reality. This is labeling. Yeah.
I went out to party last night and I threw up in my purse and my phone was in it, so my phone is broken now.
This is very interesting that you should have done that. I wonder if, when we think metaphorically about what is the meaning of a purse, and I wonder if this is a question about your identity and your sense of being a woman in the modern world, and that maybe by throwing up in it, you're really, this is like a Barbie moment, Barbie movie moment, isn't it? It's sending a strong message about femininity and roles. So that would be interesting for you to think about. So that's analysing. I just thought a little, sometimes something deeper may be happening that someone needs to explore.
I fell down the stairs and broke both my legs.
Good on you for noticing. No, really, this is very important. It's very smart of you because, a lot of people, they just let these things go by and then they get in terrible trouble later on. It's very intelligent, and someone who's sensitive to those kind of things is certainly going to be sensitive to the fact that we don't want to try and fix that here. We're trying to learn communication skills. So good on you. I just want to commend you for doing such a great job. It's praising.
Yeah, I just found out that my plane's been cancelled and it means I'm going to miss my connecting flight, and then I'm not going to get there for the wedding of my son. And it's impossible. I've looked at every single other flight. Land, sea and air, and there's no way I can get there.
Of course, this is what happens, isn't it? But I mean, in 100 years, you're going to be dead anyway, aren't you? So, when we look at it, it all comes out in a wash, doesn't it? Really, it's just, that's the way of the world, I suppose. Yeah, you miss things, you don't get what you want, and in the end, we're all dust. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I just felt like a, little perspective would help.
I'm getting sick of paying a very expensive fuel prices, and I'm going to sell my car and buy a horse.
So, why have you been using so much fuel? Do you actually budget yourself? Do you even know how much your car is actually using? Have you thought about actually getting someone to check the car and see if fuel is leaking? Sometimes it's actually leaking. Have you considered how difficult it will be, how much it will cost to have an animal and actually have to have somewhere where they feed? These are all important things that you've got to think about. Have you really considered what you could do by learning how to look after a car yourself and taking responsibility for that? Have you thought about that? Not at all. Yeah. That's called probing. I just felt like there's sometimes people just don't deal with the real questions of the issue, you see. Yeah.
Sorry. So I've finally got this dog that I've been waiting for. I ordered it through a breeder, and I've got this dog, and it's only a year old, and I found out it's got something really seriously wrong with it. And if I pay this exorbitant amount of money, then it will have a really long life. But if I pay that money, I can't pay my mortgage.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean, because that's the same thing. That's how I feel about my life. Let's face it. I thought at the beginning this was going to be cruisy, but what I found out is that it's costing me the earth just to keep myself alive. So yeah, there's what there's not just doctors, you know, there's with humans, you know, they're like with me there's dentists as well, and then there's people who want to check your eyes and check your ears, and you know, there's all sorts of carry on. And yeah, so I've been thinking about it myself, you know, like would I have carried on with this if I knew it was going to be so expensive living? But anyway, yeah, thanks for asking about that, because you know, I've been trying to sort of get a handle on this, work this out for myself. I don't know, is it just the way the costs have expanded, or, you know, did I go wrong somewhere earlier on, you know? Yeah, thanks anyway. Yeah, that's interesting. Now, okay, now, so what you notice about these things is that they're risky things for me to say, and some of them, of course, they tell you what you should be thinking, some of them they tell you how you should be feeling, like don't feel this, think about it another way. Some of them tell you what you should be doing. But what's most dramatic about all the things I just said is that everything that I just said was as if I am supposed to find the solution to this problem somehow. I need to distract you, I need to tell you what to do, I need to tell you what's right and what's wrong about this situation. And this is really weird, because it's actually you who had the problem. You notice? So what has happened is, how come these are risky things to do when the other person is upset, is because they imply that it's me who has the problem and that I'm supposed to fix it. So what coaches find is that, especially as they're learning coaching, is that the more you do these things, the more it seems like you are the one who has the problems, and every session is exhausting. So sometimes when I'm supervising coaches, what they say is they feel like, oh, how am I supposed to fix this person's problem? And it's a real clue that if they're leaning forward and they're frowning and they're thinking like this, and the client is just kind of leaning back and having fun, that we've gotten confused about whose problem it actually is. You know, who needs to find a solution here that will work for them. So the risk of these things is not just that they insult the other person or something, it's that they confuse problem ownership. So of course, in the situation where we're both happy, many of these will really work fine. Of course, when we're both happy, I want to praise people. But when I do it immediately when they tell me they have a problem, it sounds a little manipulative. You know, it's like passive aggressive. It's like I'm telling them what to do, but not really wanting to acknowledge that I'm telling them what to do. Like, good on you for doing this, sort of thing. And giving information, advising, of course, in the no problem area, those are things that I want to do. Even moralizing, you know, like people very often, they go, as I said with Milton Erickson, they go to one of these large buildings with a crowd of people and listen to someone moralizing once a week. You know, it's a very popular thing. You know, it's called church or mosque or temple or, you know, synagogue. And so there's nothing wrong with moralizing in the no problem area. But when someone tells you they're upset and the first thing you do is moralize, it has a different feeling, right? And so what Thomas Gordon found is that these things, done as the first thing after the person tells you they're upset, they actually stop the person from finding a solution that they'll be happy with. Now that's interesting to know, but always when I'm explaining this to people, then someone is likely to think or even ask me, well, but doesn't that cover sort of 99% of everything that you could have possibly said to the person as the first thing? And here is where I want to introduce to people usually three simple things.